This is Dory Clark, and I'm here with Smith College Executive Education's new podcast series. We are here today talking with Kathleen McCartney, who is the president of Smith College and the former dean of the Harvard Graduate School of Education. She has published more than 150 articles and chapters on child care, early childhood education, and poverty. She received her BS in psychology summa cum laude from Tufts University, where she now serves as a trustee, and her MS and PhD in developmental psychology from Yale University. We're extremely pleased to have her today on our series talking about building your online reputation. President McCartney, my first question for you is to talk a little bit about how you use social media. In particular, you've really made a mark using Twitter. What are you seeking to accomplish in using social media, and how did you get started?
Well, I got started day one on the job here at Smith, and I know when I was at Harvard, my communications director tried to get me to use Twitter, but I don't think I understood the power of it. But I decided to try here, really as a way of communicating with all members of the community, alumni, students, faculty, and staff. And I think right away I really saw the power of it. People enjoy the tweets, and I think they enjoy knowing what I'm up to.
So one question that I have for you is really a tactical question. I think a lot of people, when they think about getting involved on social media, are concerned about the time commitment. And they think, oh no, this is going to have to take over my whole life. Can you talk a little bit about how much time you do spend on Twitter and what that looks like, how you fit it into your schedule?
I might only send out 2 or 3 tweets a week, and it takes a minute to send out a tweet. One of the things I find is that when I'm on the road, that's when I'm likely not only to check a Twitter feed, but I might actually read an article that's been tweeted from, let's say, something like Inside Higher Education.
And so in terms of the benefits of being involved online, you mentioned that people like to see what you're doing. What are the types of things that you actually do tweet about in terms of the content? What strikes you as a tweetable moment?
Well, I think at first I was mostly tweeting about Smith events, and people do enjoy that. So they'll be interested in knowing, for example, that I went to see the all-woman production of Taming of the Shrew, or that I went to a basketball game. And sometimes more serious events too, like Michelle Norris from NPR here on campus, and I tweeted quotes from Michelle. And then I think I got a little freer. I started tweeting things that I thought would be amusing to our community. Last year on April Fool's, I tweeted that we were going to pave Paradise Pond and put up a parking lot. And my teammates in external relations actually photoshopped a picture of Paradise Pond with cars on top. And that was a very popular tweet. People got a big kick out of it. We did have 2 alumni call the office who were outraged that I had filled in Paradise Pond, but of course I didn't. So I think I've gotten a little bit more fun. We have a tradition here called Mountain Day where I get to cancel school, so I tweet some taunts about that. And then I think the last part that came about was really tweeting articles of interest about women's empowerment. So I might tweet a New York Times editorial, or I might tweet a fact. And really my goal there is education of the community around the status of women.
That's great. I'm glad you brought up the concept of online voice because that's something that I think is really crucial here. How long do you think it took you to find your voice? And can you talk a little bit about how you view the mix, the right mix of the personal versus the professional in tweeting?
I would say that I don't think about this so much as being personal. When I'm tweeting, I'm always mindful of the fact that I'm tweeting as the president of Smith College. So, for example, when I'm on vacation, I don't tweet photos from vacation, but if I'm on vacation and I meet a Smithy, I might tweet about that. And in terms of the voice, I think as you get more comfortable, you find it. And I also think you look at the reaction. I was in Paris and I was visiting the Smith Junior Abroad program, and I had bought some green shoes in Paris, and I tweeted in French that I couldn't resist buying them. And that tweet got a lot of attention. Now, if it didn't, I might have dialed back. But I think when you know that you've tweeted something that people are getting a kick out of, your followers reinforce you.
That's such a good point. One of the interesting things about Twitter is the level of interactivity that it allows. I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about how you interact with your followers and how you try to engage with your audience.
Well, I definitely like tweets from other people. I don't do that many @replies because I don't want to privilege some people over others, but every now and then I can't resist. last year, a student dressed up as me for Halloween, so she got a pair of glasses and wore a suit. I couldn't resist tweeting back to her that we looked like identical twins reared apart, which of course we didn't at all. She's 21 years old and I'm 59 years old, but I know she really appreciated that, so sometimes I can't resist. I do a lot of likes, though, of tweets, and of course I leave a lot of tweets alone, too.
That makes a lot of sense. Overall, President McCartney, if you were advising other people who are listening to this, who see you as a leader successfully using social media and are starting to think, maybe I should do that, maybe I should get involved in Twitter, what would you advise someone who is really just at the beginning stages of starting to try it out and find their online voice?
I actually have advised a number of higher education leaders to give it a try because it is such a powerful way to communicate with so many different people, especially the alumni. I have alumni who say to me sometimes, "You're everywhere." And of course, I'm not everywhere at all, but they feel connected or more connected to Smith because they're getting these tweets from me. But what I always say is, start off slowly, see what feels comfortable. Definitely look and see what other higher education leaders are doing. But as I said earlier, you really have to find your own voice. And for some people, tweeting a Halloween photo might not be comfortable for them, but for me it is. So you just have to experiment a little bit and see what feels good.
So, President McCartney, as you think about your time on Twitter, what's been the most exciting or fun use of Twitter for you? Are there any moments that stand out for you as being particularly exciting?
Yes. Last January, I was invited to a White House conference on college access. There were about 90 college presidents there, and I was lucky enough to get a front row seat. When the president came out, all of the presidents took out their cell phones. They were all taking pictures. So I took a picture too, and then I thought, well, I should tweet it. And I tweeted it with one of his quotes. And he kept speaking, and there were more things that he said that I decided to tweet about. So this was my first experience with live tweeting, and I just kept going. By the next day, I found out that President Obama and I had made it a trending topic of the day because I used the White House hashtag. That was pretty exciting.
Powerhouse. That's an amazing use of Twitter. Thanks for sharing that.
Okay.
The last major question that I have is, I know from talking to a lot of professionals that one of the things that holds people back is a fear that, particularly if you are a leader, if you have a platform, the idea that if you make a mistake, if you say something wrong on social media, the consequences are going to be amplified and they might feel that it's too risky. Can you talk a little bit about how you think about that? Do you view social media as being risky? If so, how do you mitigate that risk and make yourself feel comfortable?
Well, I try not to tweet about risky things because there aren't enough characters to really let you share a full-fledged argument. But it is certainly the case that sometimes something's happening on campus and people have negative responses to it and they will try to get my attention through Twitter. So I'm sometimes aware of that, but I'm not checking every day either. But I think the benefits far outweigh the costs. So that's what I would say to anybody new to it.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience. You really have become a role model in higher education and in leadership more broadly about actively engaging with your community on Twitter, showing your authentic voice and your authentic self. So, President McCartney, thank you so much.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you.